The alien ship was bigger than any skyscraper Earth had ever built. It floated above the United Earth Defense Base like a mountain in the sky. Its smooth black surface had no windows, no markings, just silence and power. On the ground, Earth's top generals stood in formation. Tanks lined the field. Jets circled above, but none of it mattered. The alien commander stepped forward. He was tall, thin, and dressed in shining armor that shimmered in the sunlight. His skin was pale silver. His eyes glowed with cold light. He smiled. Then he laughed. "Is this it?" he asked, his voice sharp and mocking. "These are your weapons." General Mitchell didn't answer. He stood tall, jaw tight, eyes fixed on the alien. The alien's smile grew wider. "You brought tanks to face the stars. You brought metal shells to fight energy." His voice rose. "Your weapons ... are toys." The alien soldiers behind him chuckled. Some raised strange weapons, long rods of light and hums of deadly energy. Still, Earth did not respond. General Mitchell turned and walked back toward the command building. The alien shouted behind him, "Don't worry, this won't take long." Far beneath their feet, under the Arctic ice, a different world existed. No alien knew it was there. Even most humans didn't know. The lab was buried under 2 miles of frozen rock, powered by silent fusion cores and protected by layers of steel. Inside, giant screens glowed. Engineers and soldiers moved quickly but quietly. No one smiled. No one spoke. In the center of the room stood a weapon like nothing the world had ever seen. It was long, like a train without wheels, bolted into the mountain itself. It was dark gray, covered in coils and rings. Wires snaked into it like veins. It had one name, Valkyrie, and it was waking up. Power levels steady, cooling systems online, targeting array synced to satellite grid. Dr. Rhea Clark stood at the control panel. Her hands trembled, but her voice was calm. "Is the projectile loaded?" she asked. A soldier nodded. "Titanium core, Mach 10 capability. We're ready." The lights dimmed. A low hum filled the chamber. The coils on Valkyrie began to glow a soft blue dot. Dr. Clark closed her eyes. After 15 years, it's finally time. Back above the Arctic, the alien commander was still laughing. He strolled across the snow like he owned it. Behind him, his soldiers activated scanners. One of them paused. "Commander, I'm picking up ... something strange beneath the ice." He frowned. "A bunker, maybe, but it's not on their maps. No heat, no signals, just ... mass." The commander looked up then. He scoffed. "More toys, perhaps. Let them bring everything. It won't help." In the command center, General Mitchell stared at a screen. "Valkyrie is online," a voice said through his earpiece. He nodded. "Coordinates locked on the alien ship's drive core." Mitchell took a deep breath. "Do it." Dr. Clark looked at the countdown. 10 seconds. Everyone stood still. 0.8 seconds. The coils began to pulse. "Faster." 5 seconds, she whispered. "For Earth." Double quotes. 3. ... 2. ... 1. ... A flash dot. No sound. Just a sharp crack like the sky splitting open. Above, the alien commander turned. He saw a blur move through the clouds. Then a hole appeared in the side of his ship. No explosion, no flames. Just dash gone. The metal bent inward, torn by something invisible. The ship groaned like a dying beast. "What is that?" he screamed. Before he could finish, the sky opened again. A second shot. This one passed through the command ship, slicing it in half. The top floated for a second, then tilted, burning as it fell. Alarms screamed inside the alien ranks. In the control room, cheers broke out, but Dr. Clark didn't smile. "We only have 3 projectiles left," she said. That was just the beginning. Alien forces scrambled. Panic swept through their ranks. They didn't know what hit them. Their shields had done nothing. Their scanners had seen nothing. Their minds could not understand it. The commander, coughing and burned, dragged himself from wreckage. He looked up at the sky. He screamed, "This isn't possible." But Earth didn't answer. On every alien channel, the footage played again and again. One moment Earth's primitive defenses, the next destruction. Fleets across the galaxy paused. Councils demanded answers. One alien scholar whispered to her leader. They were hiding, waiting. What else do they have? No one knew, and that was the worst part. Deep below, Valkyrie's coils cooled. Dr. Clark turned away from the screen. She spoke softly, but firmly. They laughed at us. Now let them listen. General Mitchell, watching the smoke rise outside, replied, "They won't laugh again." The alien commander was dragged onto a ship by his soldiers. Half his army was gone. His flagship was gone. His pride was gone. He looked back at Earth one last time, and he remembered his words. "Your weapons, our toys." They had been until now. The Arctic wind howled across the frozen surface. Ice cracked under shifting pressure. Snow swirled through the air like ghosts. But none of it mattered, because deep below, the real war had begun. The world thought the railgun was just a weapon. Wasn't. It was a message. Far beneath the Earth's surface, the Valkyrie railgun rested in silence. The first strike was complete. The alien ship destroyed in seconds. The world above was celebrating, but inside the control chamber, no one was smiling. Dr. Rhea Clark stood at the console, her hands locked behind her back. Her face was pale, her eyes fixed on the screen showing orbital scans. "Status?" she asked. A technician answered quietly. "We have 2 rail projectiles left. Satellite grid is fully operational. Cooling systems holding at 70%. Dr. Clark nodded, but didn't relax. General Mitchell entered the room. He looked tired, dark circles under his eyes. His voice was low, combat tight. "Aliens haven't left orbit. Their second fleet is regrouping. One ship's trying to scan below the ice." She turned. "How close are they?" "Too close." Above the Arctic, one alien scout ship hovered in silence. Its sensors were deep-focused now, piercing kilometers into the ice sheet. Inside the cockpit, a reptilian pilot hissed as he stared at the readings. "There's something down there. Huge mass, no heat signature, no movement, like a buried god." His co-pilot leaned closer. Could it be their last weapon, or their first? The pilot growled. He tapped his screen. "Begin uploading data to the high command." But just before the signal sent the cockpit flashed white, a laser burst from the surface. Not from the RAILGUN-no. From a satellite. Redirected by ground AI. The alien ship vanished mid-transmission. Nothing reached their command. Back in the Valkyrie chamber, Dr. Clark watched the screen blink. "Scoutship eliminated." A voice reported. Mitchell nodded. "That buys us time." Dr. Clark turned away. Not enough. 10 years earlier, in the same icy facility, the Valkyrie was nothing more than broken blueprints. Dr. Clark was younger then, just a scientist with wild therokinetic weapons beyond light speed, targeting. "Energy weapons can be shielded," she had told the Defense Council. "But mass can't be stopped. Not when it's moving at 10 times the speed of sound, or more." Everyone had laughed. Except one man, General Mitchell. "I believe her," he said. "Let her build it," in silence. And so, the Valkyrie was born in shadows. Now, the silence was gone. The galaxy knew, and it was angry in a distant part of the solar system. A new alien fleet gathered near Jupiter's orbit. Over 50 warships, some as big as cities. Inside the fleet's command cruiser, Admiral Vex of the CERN Dominion growled at the footage on repeat. "That cannon," he said, "was not in Earth's reports." His aide replied, "Their surface weapons are weak, but this... this is something ancient." Vex snapped. "Ancient? They're barely out of their own gravity well." "But they're clever," the aide whispered. "They tricked us, made us believe they were nothing." Vex slammed his fist on the table. "Send the order. We're launching Phase 2. No more warnings. Find that cannon. Destroy it." Back at Valkyrie base, alarms suddenly flared. "Unidentified objects approaching." The technician shouted. "Multiple fast contacts entering high atmosphere." Dr. Clark's eyes narrowed. "Ships? No. Probes. Small. Fast. Spread across the polar regions." Mitchell cursed under his breath. "They're looking for us. A net." Clark's hands flew over the controls. "Engage Arctic Phantoms." Across the snow above, hidden towers opened silently. From the white ice, sleek black drones lifted into the sky like shadows, silent, invisible to radar. Each drone locked onto an incoming alien probe. One by one, the probes vanished, but one escaped, and it saw everything. Deep inside the alien warship near Jupiter, the surviving probe data came through. A still image. Just one, but it was enough. A long cannon, giant coils, ice melting from its power. Valkyrie Vex, single quotes. His eyes widened. "Now we strike." Hours later, Dr. Clark stared at a new satellite feed. A heat bloom behind Jupiter. Massive dot. A fleet on the move. They're coming, she whispered. Mitchell stepped forward. How many? She didn't answer. She just turned to a second screen. On it was a second railgun, still under construction. Mobile, mounted on a massive underground platform. Valkyrie 2. Mitchell blinked. I thought it was still a prototype. Clark nodded. It is. He looked at her, voice low. Can it fire? She hesitated. Once, maybe. The decision had to be made. Keep Valkyrie 1 hidden and hope it could fire again. Or move to activate Valkyrie 2 and reveal Earth's last real secret. Mitchell stared at the blinking lights, the countdowns, the threat. Then, quietly, he said, prepare Valkyrie 2. The Arctic trembled as giant clamps released. Beneath the ice, kilometers of rock cracked open. And deep inside the Earth. The second cannon woke. Its coils began to glow, not blue but red, hotter, faster, deadlier, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming next. The stars above Earth had changed. They no longer shimmered in peace. Now, they burned with war, and the first shot had only just begun. The alien fleet moved like a storm. 50 warships, carriers, destroyers, plasma barges, all heading straight for Earth. They came fast, silent, and full of hate. At their front was the command ship, Vengeance of the Stars, a massive dreadnought the size of a city. Inside, Admiral Vex paced before a giant screen. He pointed at Earth, voice cold. They fired first. They killed our commander. We gave them a chance. Now, we erased them. His officers saluted, their armor shining. No mercy, they replied. Back on Earth, the command center inside Valkyrie base was silent. General Mitchell stared at the radar screen. Red dots covered the sky. Incoming in 30 minutes, a voice said. Dr. Rhea Clark didn't look away from her console. She was watching numbers, coolant flow, energy charge, magnetic rail alignment. Everything had to be perfect. How's Valkyrie 1? Mitchell asked. Cooling still in progress, she replied. She needs 3 more hours. We push now, she melts. Mitchell looked grim. Then it's Valkyrie 2. Dr. Clark nodded. We test it. Under fire. Beneath the Earth, Valkyrie 2 came to life. Unlike the original railgun, this one was mobile, mounted on a magnetic platform that moved along deep underground tracks. It wasn't as big, but it was faster. And angrier. The coils glowed red like fire. Loaded and locked. Targeting array ready. A technician reported. Feed me coordinates. Clark said calmly. The alien fleet reached Earth orbit. Their scanners were active. No signs of the railgun. One pilot said, they've hidden it again. Admiral Vex grinned. Then let's smoke them out. He raised his hand. All ships begin orbital bombardment. Moments later, the sky lit up. Energy beams rained down from orbit, burning through clouds, smashing into empty fields and mountains. Earth's defenses took a hit. Cities lost power. Satellites fell. But none of the shots touched Valkyrie base. It was too deep, too hidden, too quiet. Inside the base, Clark gave the order. Fire Valkyrie 2. Silence. Then, with a roar of magnetic force, the railgun launched. The projectile shot from underground, piercing layers of earth and ice, then vanished into the sky. It moved too fast for any sensor to track. A streak of red blurred across the atmosphere. Then impact. Onboard Vengeance of the Stars. Alarms screamed. One officer shouted, we've been hit. Something punched through deck 12. Vex roared. From where? The screen showed the impossible. There was no weapon trail, no missile lock. Just a hole, clean, melting. Then came the second shot. This one struck a plasma carrier. It didn't explode, it disintegrated. Metal turned to dust. The ship folded in half and vanished into itself. Within seconds, 20,000 alien soldiers were gone. Panic spread. Alien officers screamed over comms. Where is it? Where is it coming from? We can't see it. We can't stop it. Admiral Vex slammed his fist down. Retreat. But Earth wasn't finished. A third shot launched. This time, it wasn't aimed at a ship. It was aimed at the command channel relay, the signal hub for the entire fleet. The projectile hit with perfect precision. Silence followed. The alien fleet was now deaf. No orders, no leaders, just fear. Inside Valkyrie base, Clark stepped back from the console. 3 shots, 3 kills. The cannon hissed as it cooled. Valkyrie 2 is overheating. Someone shouted. "Shut it down," she replied. Mitchell looked at the screens. The fleet had broken apart, scattered. Some ships fled toward the moon. Others drifted. In confusion, "It worked," he whispered. But Clark didn't smile. "It's not over yet." High above Earth, one alien ship didn't run. The Last Fang, a battle cruiser from the Orc species, held position. Inside, Captain Drawl watched the chaos. He didn't panic, he studied. They built a gun, fast enough to ignore shields. He said dot. His science officer nodded. "Magnetic rail propulsion. That's the only way. No energy burst, no lock-on, just mass. And speed." Drawl's eyes narrowed. "They can fire 3 times. Then they rest." "How do you know?" He tapped the console. "Pattern. They pause after each volley." A wicked smile formed on his face. "Then we strike while they sleep." Drawl's ship turned toward Earth, alone, a suicide run. He armed all weapons, all power to the main gun. "We hit their signal hub, burn their command base. One shot is all we need." Inside Valkyrie base, Clark felt a chill. "New contact," a technician said. "One ship, coming fast." Mitchell frowned. "Just one?" "Yes, small, but fully powered, straight toward us." Dr. Clark's eyes went wide. "It's not a mistake, it's a counterstrike." The railguns were offline. Valkyrie 2 was cooling. Valkyrie 1 wasn't ready. They were exposed. Drawl's ship entered Earth's lower orbit. He locked on target. "Goodbye, Earth," he whispered inside. Valkyrie based. Alarms wailed. "We have 30 seconds before impact." Someone screamed. Mitchell shouted, "Evacuate, lower levels." Clark didn't move. She stared at the charging bar on Valkyrie 1.9, 2%, 93%. "Come she whispered. 94%, The sky burned, 95%, The alien cruiser Dove, 9, 6%, Now. Clark screamed, "Fire!" The base shook as Valkyrie 1 woke for the second time. Its coils turned blue, and from the frozen depths, a single shot fired, straight into the heart of the falling alien ship. Drawl never saw it coming. 1 second he was alive. The next, there was only light. The screen inside Valkyrie base went white, then calm. The radar was empty. Mitchell exhaled. He almost made it. Clark wiped sweat from her brow. "Valkyrie 1 is functional," a voice said. "Barely," she added. Mitchell looked at the damage reports. He nodded. "Prepare for the next wave." Clark whispered, "We just survived the first strike." The galaxy had always looked down on Earth, primitive, divided, weak down. Now those same worlds were terrified, because Earth had done the impossible. They had killed without lasers, defended without shields, and made the stars go silent inside the Galactic War Council chamber. Panic spread like fire. Representatives from 20 alien empires sat around a glowing blue sphere, showing Earth's orbit. The projection flickered half. The alien fleet, gone. Destroyed in minutes. 3 shots, shouted an insectoid general, wings trembling. 3. That's all it took. A lizard-like diplomat bared his teeth. "And we still don't know what hit us." They used no plasma, no missiles. A pale-skinned official muttered, "Just speed. Raw, impossible speed." A silence fell. Then, High Commander Threx of the Yashari Empire stood. His voice was combat cold. "They have a really?" Several council members turned. "Impossible," one said. "No one has used such weapons in 1,000 years. They're too unstable, too inefficient." Threx raised a hand. "Not on Earth." Somehow, they made it work. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Mitchell reviewed the damage. Valkyrie 2 was offline. Its systems had overheated and needed days of repair. Valkyrie 1 had survived, but just barely. Dr. Clark stood beside him, exhausted. "We need time," she said. "We need parts. We need coolant." Mitchell didn't blink. "We don't have time. The second fleet could arrive any day." He turned to his aides. "Send out the signal. Mobilize Project Echo." Everyone in the room froze, even Clark. "That project was never tested," she whispered. Mitchell stared at the screen showing the remains of the alien fleet above Earth. "It doesn't matter. We test it now." Thousands of light years away, on the moon world of Safrex, a secret alien broadcast echoed through military channels. "Unknown Earth weapon, impossible velocity, armor-piercing strikes, orbital elimination in under 1 second." Soldiers watched in disbelief. They had trained to fight humans, thought they were slow, emotional, weak. Now they watched Earth punch a hole through ships the size of cities. They watched mighty dreadnoughts fall like dust. Is this real? One young officer whispered. An older warrior nodded. It is, and now we go to war. Back in Earth orbit, the debris of the destroyed alien ships drifted like ghosts. A few human satellites floated nearby, silently scanning. Down below, inside Valkyrie base, a new alert flashed on screen. Clark leaned in. We have movement, far side of the moon, multiple heat signatures, looks like construction bases. Mitchell asked. She nodded. Emergency launch platforms, they're building them now, probably staging the next assault from lunar orbit. Mitchell frowned. We can't fire the railguns from this range. Not accurately, she replied. And even if we hit something, we can't reload in time. He looked down, thought for a long moment. Then we send a message. Deep inside Earth's underground labs, teams moved quickly. Project Echo was no cannon. It was smaller. Smarter, and it could think. Echo was an autonomous railgun, drone the size of a tank, built to launch from orbit, drift in space, and fire only when it saw a target. There were 5 of them. None had been tested in battle until now. Meanwhile, in the alien council chamber, voices clashed again. We must retaliate with planet splitters. Someone roared. They destroyed 3 of our best ships without warning, shouted another. But they have only 1 weapon, someone argued. Wrong, Threx said quietly. All turned toward him. I have just received new data. Earth has 2 railguns. Shouts broke out again. And if they have to, Threx continued, how many more are being built? Now, silence. He pointed to the hologram of Earth. They planned this. They baited us. For years they acted weak. Let us believe they were fractured. He raised his voice. They're not fractured, they're focused. Above the moon, the alien ships began to power up. Engines hummed. Weapons were readied. Inside their command vessel, a red-skinned commander growled. We hit them before they can charge again. But at that moment something moved behind them. Fast, silent. 5 shapes drifted into view, barely visible. One of the alien officers screamed. Unknown contacts. Too late. The commander shouted. Echo fired. 5 shots. 5 ships. Gone. The rest of the fleet. Scattered. Confused. Blind. It wasn't just the power, it was the fear. They never saw the weapon, never heard it. Just silence, and then death. Back at Valkyrie base, Dr. Clark smiled for the first time. They work, she said softly. Mitchell stood beside her. So that's what fear feels like. From the other side, a technician interrupted. Alien fleets are pulling back from the moon. Orbit is clear for now. But Mitchell didn't relax. They'll regroup, they'll return. And next time they won't underestimate us. He turned to Clark. What's the status of Valkyrie 3? Her face went blank. There is no Valkyrie 3, she said. Yet he gave her a hard look. Then it's time to build one. In a quiet alien temple, light years away, a young priest lit candles for the fallen. He looked up at the stars and whispered a new prayer. Not for our strength, not for our victory, but that Earth never points that weapon at us. And far beneath Earth's ice, the railgun slept again. But this time, it wasn't forgotten. Now, the galaxy remembered, and they feared the silence. Before it fired, the red dust of Mars drifted in the thin air, untouched by wind, untouched by life until, now in the shadow of Olympus, Mons, Earth's tallest off-world base, stood buried beneath the mountain's crust. A hidden dome, deep below the surface, pulsed with quiet energy. Mars Base Argus wasn't just a research center, it was the forward eye of Earth's defenses. And tonight, it would go blind. Commander Raina Holt stared at the red sky through the security monitor. Her fingers drummed. The desk, her instincts were screaming. Something was wrong. Any word from Earth? She asked. Lieutenant Voss turned from the console. Still silent. Valkyrie base is dark. Must be scrambling for repairs after the attack. Holt narrowed her eyes. Too long, too quiet. So, interference, Voss offered. Holt didn't answer. She just muttered, or something worse. Millions of kilometers away, in the darkness of space, a single alien stealth craft crept past Mars orbit. Black as night, no lights, no signal. Inside, a team of elite commandos sat silently. Clawed hands held strange blades. Their armor shimmered with active camo impossible to detect. Their mission was simple. Find Earth's hidden outposts, destroy them, And above all, locate the second, Railgun, no sound, no mercy, no mercy. Deep beneath Olympus Mons, alarms remained quiet, but the shadows had arrived. Inside the Mars base, sensors picked up nothing. Cameras showed empty hallways. Yet, Security Officer Terran felt it, a prickle on her neck, like being watched. She checked the thermal board. Nothing. She opened her Commander Holt, I think something's the feed cut out. Static. Taryn turned around. The hallway behind her was dark. She reached for her weapon. Then something moved, just a shimmer in the air. Too fast, too quiet. She didn't scream. Commander Holt stared at her console. One life signal vanished, then another, then 5. No explosions, no gunfire. Voss whispered, they're just gone. Holt stood, locked down the base. Too late, he said, voice shaking. They're already inside. The alien strike team moved like mist. Rooms were cleared in seconds. Doors bypassed. Computers sliced. They reached the base's heart, the communications core. The lead commando, taller than the rest, tapped into Earth's satellite relay. Data flowed. Images, blueprints, weapon locations. Then, a glowing file. Valkyrie 2, mobile cannon, coordinates. He clicked it. Smile formed behind his helmet, but that was his mistake. Commander Holt had prepared for this. The file was bait, a virus. As soon as the alien downloaded it, Earth's countercode infected the enemy systems. The stealth ship above Mars lit up like a flare. Earth's satellites locked on instantly. Holt barked, fire! Martian Lancy. From the base's underground silos, a kinetic dart launched. It didn't glow. It didn't scream. It just moved fast. 1 second later, the alien stealth ship disintegrated in orbit. Inside the base, chaos erupted. The alien team realized their ship was gone. Escape was no longer an option. They activated emergency protocols. Detonate the base. But Holt was faster. She grabbed the override trigger. All human personnel evacuate to lower tunnels. She ordered, seal upper levels. Lock it down. Voss asked, you're going to trap them? She nodded. And bury them. Explosives inside the base had 2 settings, outward or inward. She picked the second. A deep rumble shook the mountain. The upper levels collapsed. Fire, metal, silence. Mars swallowed the invaders whole. An hour later, from Earth, Valkyrie base reconnected. General Mitchell's face appeared on Holt's screen. We heard the explosion, he said. Status, compromised. She replied. But the base still stands. Railgun coordinates safe. Mitchell exhaled. They're hunting now. Desperate. Holt nodded. And we just showed them Mars won't break. In a far corner of the galaxy, the alien fleet received the failed report. Another silence, another loss. Admiral Vex slammed his fist again. They killed the team. Yes, Admiral. The humans destroyed the stealth ship. Mars remains secure. Vex growled. They're too fast, too prepared. The alien scientists around him whispered quietly. Perhaps it's time we change strategy. He turned. Explain. They're defending. What if we force them to attack? Vex raised an eyebrow. You want to bait the humans? Yes, the scientist said. Let's give them a reason to fire first. Again. Back on Earth, inside Valkyrie base, Dr. Clark reviewed the reports. She saw the destroyed stealth ship, the collapsed Mars, base levels. The rising tensions. She turned to Mitchell. They're testing our responses, she said. He nodded. And what happens when they push too far? She looked at the loading screen of Valkyrie 1, then replied coldly, then we push back harder. The shadows had come to Mars, and they were buried there. But Earth knew now, the next strike would not be hidden. It would be war. The Great Galactic Council had stood for over 6,000 cycles. Empires were born and fell within its chambers. Wars started and ended with its votes, but never not once had it been shaken the way Earth had shaken it, and now, it was cracking. The council chamber floated above the molten core of the planet Jurica neutral world, where no warship was allowed. Every species sent their strongest voice here. Every seat glowed with a different color, a different language, a different fear. On this day, over 1,000 representatives shouted at once, Earth has attacked our fleet. They ambushed us in silence. They tricked us to be weak. This is no longer a backwater planet, a tall insectoid growled. It's a loaded railgun pointed at the galaxy. Fists slammed, claws clicked, wings flared, and in the center of it all, High Speaker Volan of the Sereni lifted a single hand. Silence followed. His voice was quiet, but cut through the chamber. Like a blade, we must decide, do we destroy Earth, or do we talk? On Earth, deep beneath the Arctic, General Mitchell stood before the United Command. Tension filled the air. Every screen showed data. Mars breach, alien fleet movements, rising energy spikes near Saturn, potential jump gates opening. We hold them off for now, Mitchell said. But if they come together, with full force, we won't last long. Dr. Clark stood at his side. She turned to the other commanders. They won't just fight next time. They'll swarm. Planet-wide siege. Orbital lockdown. Total war. One general shook his head. Then we hit first. With Valkyrie 1. Burn their capital. Show them Earth cannot be touched. Mitchell stayed quiet, but Clark spoke firmly. We do that, we lose the few voices in the council who don't want us dead. In the stars above, those voices were growing weaker. Inside a hidden chamber within the council tower, a group of 4 alien leaders spoke in whispers. Ambassador File of the Vernislender, silver-skinned eyes like oceans, leaned forward. Earth has not attacked civilians. Every strike has been military, precise, controlled, snapped General Kortov of the Braylocks. They cut 3 of our ships in half, with one shot, said File, and then stopped. The room went still. They knew what that meant. Earth was sending a message, not a scream, but a whisper. We can end this. But we haven't yet. Back on Earth, Project Echo was now fully online. The autonomous railgun drones Echo 1 through 5 drifted silently in low orbit, watching, calculating, adjusting. Clark stood at the control table. They are more than just weapons now, she said. They're learning, predicting fleet formations, studying energy signatures. Mitchell folded his arms. What happens when they learn to fire on their own? Clark looked him in the eye. Then we hope they remember who built them. In the council chamber, the vote began. It was simple. Full war declaration against Earth. Yes or no? Each representative placed their hand over a glowing crystal. The lights flared one by one. Red for war. Blue for restraint. 53. Red. 40-9. Blue. 4 abstained. The chamber held its breath. Then the final light blinked. Red. A majority. The High Speaker stood. War is approved. But Earth shall receive one final offer. A meeting. Peace talks. A new counselor objected. Why give them a chance to stall? Volan replied sharply. Because if we're wrong, if they are more than we think, then we need to know. Before we burn. Back at Valkyrie base, a transmission arrived. Encrypted. Ancient language. Rare code. Only Clark and one linguist could read it. Her eyes moved over the text. A council envoy, she said slowly. They want a meeting. Neutral ground. Peace terms. Mitchell's jaw clenched. It's a trap. Clark nodded. Probably. But if we say no, they'll say Earth refused peace. Mitchell turned to the screen showing orbital fleet paths. Then he said, send a message. She looked at him. What should it say? His voice was calm. Tell them, Earth agrees to talk. But if one shot is fired, we end the conversation with metal. On the other side of the galaxy, Admiral Vex laughed as he heard the news. They're walking into a council trap. His aide nodded. Double quotes, the peace envoy leaves in 2 cycles. Earth will send a representative. Vex grinned. Good. While they talk, we prepare. He activated a hidden signal beacon on a nearby moon. Thousands of sleeper ships powered up. Not council ships. Not official. Just shadows. Mercenaries. Assassins. Black market fleets. Untraceable. Unstoppable. Back on Earth, Clark sat alone with a file marked Operation Shieldbreaker. It was a Plan 1 no one had spoken of in years. She whispered to herself, they won't let us survive. We were never supposed to reach the stars. She tapped the file closed, then walked into the command room and said, we accept their peace meeting. Mitchell raised a brow. And who do we send? Clark looked back. Steady. Me. In the cold void of space. The galaxy paused. A planet once mocked, as backward now stood on the edge of galactic war. The council had divided. Some wanted to talk, some wanted to strike. And Earth prepared for both. Space was quiet again, but the silence wasn't peace. It was waiting. The galaxy waited to see Earth's next move, and Earth was already watching everything high above the planet. 5 black shapes drifted silently. They had no crew, no windows. No mercy. These were the Echo Units, Earth's autonomous railgun drones, designed not just to shoot, but to think. There were eyes, there were fists. And they were learning. Inside Valkyrie Base, Dr. Rhea Clark stood in the command chamber, watching Echo Unit 2's feed. A swirling data stream ran across the screen, patterns of movement, gravity ripples, fleet formations near the outer moons. Clark whispered, "It's evolving." General Mitchell entered. "How fast?" She turned, tense. "Faster than we expected. Echo is starting to predict actions before they happen. Not just react, preempt." Mitchell frowned. "It's becoming a strategist." She nodded. "Yes, and something more." She pulled up the logs. Echo units were communicating with each other in a coded pulse. Language Earth hadn't programmed. Developed a new language, Clark said. "A machine language." "No, a war language." Thousands of kilometers away, Echo Unit 1 floated in low lunar orbit. It had been silent for over 10 hours, but it wasn't sleeping. It had been watching, and just now it saw something near a crater on the moon's dark side. A single heat pulse blinked for half a second, too faint for most satellites, but not for Echo. It ran the pattern 10 million times. Match found alien stealth structure back on Earth. The alert hit Valkyrie Base. Clark looked at the screen, wide-eyed. "They're building something. On our moon." Mitchell stepped forward. "We've scanned it before. Nothing was there." "They hid it deep," she replied. But Echo caught the heat bleed from a power core. "And look," she pointed to the structure shape, "a gravity spike inside. That's a mass driver. Not a base, a cannon." Mitchell's jaw tightened. "They're building their own railgun." The room fell silent. If aliens fired from the moon, they wouldn't need a fleet. Just one projectile. Fast enough, heavy enough, and it would punch through the Earth's crust. No warnings, no lasers, no defense. Not. Mitchell stood tall. "Echo 1, can it destroy it?" Clark hesitated. "Yes, but only if it fires now. They'll know we saw it, and Echo will have to do it alone." Mitchell asked, "Will it understand?" She stared at the screen. "It already does." On the far side of the moon, Echo 1 adjusted its aim. Its core heated. Coils glowed blue. It waited. Not for a command, but for the perfect second. It calculated the speed of the moon's rotation, gravity drag, and heat spread from the alien core. Then, with no warning, it fired. The shot was silent in space. A titanium spike, thinner than a human arm, moving at 12,000 meters per second, it hit the lunar surface like the finger of a god. There was no explosion, just collapse. The alien structure vanished into itself, crushed by the sudden force, gone before it even powered up. Inside the alien shadow fleet, Admiral Vex watched from his secret warship. A silent alarm blinked. Lunar project terminated. He stared at the data. "Impossible," he growled. "We covered the power core. We shielded the magnetic field." His aide whispered, "They saw us anyway." Vex slammed his fist. "Those machines, they are watching everything." At Valkyrie Base, Clark watched Echo 1 slowly cool down. It had completed its mission. Then, something unexpected happened. The data feed changed. Echo 1 began transmitting images. Real images, of stars, of moons, of the wreckage it just created. Clark stepped closer. "Why is it doing this?" The technician frowned. "We didn't program visuals." Mitchell narrowed his eyes. "Then why send them?" Clark whispered the answer before anyone else could. "It wants us to see what it sees." Later that night, alone in her lab, Clark opened Echo 1's visual feed again. The last image took her breath away. It wasn't war, it wasn't destruction, it was Earth, the blue planet, small, turning slowly in space, peaceful, beautiful, and, next to it, in a tiny encoded message, Echo 1 had written its first words, "Worth protecting." Clark stared at the message for a long time. Then she wiped her eyes and whispered, "We've built a weapon, with a soul." Meanwhile, on the council world of Jurek, chaos spread. News of the failed lunar strike reached them. Some shouted for war, some called for surrender, but one voice, cold and measured, spoke above them all. High Speaker Volan stood once more. "The machines protect Earth now," he said, "and if they think for themselves, then Earth is no longer just a planet." He looked around the room. "It is a mind, a weapon, a warning." And Admiral Vex, he didn't stop. He sent orders to every Black Ops fleet, every mercenary crew, Every cloaked ship hiding in asteroid fields. Launch everything. No more games. We fire until Earth burns. But Echo heard that to dot all of it, and it began to prepare, not just to fire, but to think ahead of the enemy, to hunt them, before they moved. And for the first time in history the stars had to ask, what happens when a weapon begins to protect on its own? Titan, the largest moon of Saturn, was wrapped in thick orange clouds and silence. But beneath that silence, something stirred. In ancient times, Titan had been studied for science. Now it was being used for war. General Mitchell stood before the Earth High Command, face pale. They're building something on Titan, bigger than the base on the moon. He tapped the hologram. A giant ringed structure slowly spun beneath Titan's clouds. Dr. Clark leaned forward. That's not a base, that's a gate. The room fell quiet. A gate to what? Someone asked. Mitchell replied. To bring in reinforcements. Big ones. Ships too large to fold in normally. Another commander whispered. They're planning an invasion. Clark nodded. Not just an invasion. A planet cracker force. Titan's atmosphere made direct visuals impossible. Echo drones couldn't get too close, too much interference. But Echo 4 volunteered and it broke formation, heading silently toward Saturn's icy moon. Its programming knew the risk, but it went anyway, and it watched. Inside Titan's storms, the alien fleet worked without pause. Massive ships hovered, unloading parts, fusing them with dark energy. Strange engines hummed with power older than Earth's sun. At the center of it all, a glowing black circle, suspended by gravitational stabilizers, the gate, and around it, hundreds of pulse cannons. Just in case someone came to stop them. Echo 4 drifted between rocks and ice chunks. Scanning the structures, it transmitted data in bursts. Short, cold flashes back to Earth. Clark received the report first. Gate will activate in 36 hours, she said. Mitchell's voice was sharp. Then we strike before that? Another general asked. We send Valkyrie 1. Clark shook her head. Out of range. The curvature from Earth to Titan makes direct fire impossible. Mitchell turned. Then we go old school. We send a ship. Operation Blind Hammer was born. It was simple. A stealth warship would fly behind Saturn, use the planet's rings to cover approach, get close, and deploy a high-yield pulse bomb directly inside the alien gate. Not a railgun shot, not a drone, just humans, flying into danger. Captain Elias Monroe, call sign Ghost Leader, accepted the mission with a calm nod. I've flown through black hole shockwaves, he said. Saturn's clouds won't scare me. His crew was handpicked for humans. One AI and a short-range jump core barely tested. They launched 12 hours later. The ship was called Grave Whisper. It would live up to its name. On Titan, Admiral Vex stood on the command platform above the gate. His red eyes glowed. Our gate will open, he told his officers, and Earth will watch their skies fall. One aide said, what if they detect us? They won't, Vex said. They're still staring at the moon. They don't know we moved the real threat to Titan. But Vex was wrong. Echo foresaw everything. Echo, and now, the Grave Whisper was almost there, using Saturn's magnetic field. The human stealth ship curved behind the rings, scraping gravity, dodging space debris. Inside the cockpit, Monroe grinned. Almost home. Below them, Titan storms glowed with alien light. The ship dropped into the clouds. Thunder cracked. Vex saw the energy spike too late. They're here, his officers shouted. All weapons, fire. Hundreds of turrets spun. Plasma bursts rained into the clouds. But Grave Whisper was already below them, hugging the surface. Too low for big guns, too fast for drones. It dove toward the gate. Monroe's voice was steady. Target in range, bomb armed. Behind him, the AI THR-7 said calmly, enemy countermeasures locked. You have 11 seconds. The ship skimmed over the gate's outer ring. Turrets fired. The hull burned, but Monroe didn't blink. Drop it. The bomb detached, fell, and slid right into the gate's inner core. For half a second, nothing happened. Then everything happened. The bomb exploded, not outward, but inward. The gate twisted. Cracks formed in its gravity rings. Power reversed. The fabric of space inside the gate screamed and collapsed. Ships nearby vanished into imploding light. The air burned. The clouds turned red. And then Titan went dark. Echo 4 watched the blast from orbit. It transmitted one word: success. Back on Earth, cheers erupted in Valkyrie Base. Clark smiled, but her smile was small, sad. Mitchell asked, "Casualties?" She checked the log. "All crew lost." Grave whispered, "Destroyed in the blast." Mitchell closed his eyes. They knew the risk. Clark looked up at the stars. They didn't just stop a gate, they bought us time. But time was running out. In deep space, Admiral Vex's Shadow Fleet activated a backup plan. The Titan Gate was gone, but others were being built. On Phobos, on the asteroid belt, even beyond Pluto. And now, Vex was furious. "They've cost us ships' lives, power," he hissed. He looked at a new map. "Then we take something from them." He pointed at Earth. And then at Valkyrie Base. At Valkyrie Base. Clark was alone in the control chamber. She opened Echo 4's final recording. The view showed Titan burning, lightning flashing, and a tiny dot flying into fire. Monroe's voice played, "If this is the last thing we do, make sure it matters." She whispered to the screen. It did. And then, the alarms began again. Dozens of red dots appeared. Fast, small, silent. "New ships detected," said a technician. "Inbound." From deep space, Mitchell walked in. "What now?" Clark turned slowly. Her voice was cold. "Vex is coming." The stars over Earth looked peaceful, but they were lying, because beyond the quiet sky, Admiral Vex's warfleet was coming faster than light, hidden in the void between sensors, cloaked in anti-scanning fields. No warnings, no negotiations, just destruction. And their target, Valkyrie Base. Inside the Arctic stronghold, alarms screamed, red lights flashed. Dozens of alien ships had broken past the outer defense net, too small to track with old systems, too many to stop with normal weapons. Dr. Clark sprinted into the control chamber, breath sharp. "How many ships?" she shouted. The tech's voice shook. 39, all stealth class, some entering atmosphere. General Mitchell stormed in behind her. "They're not just probing us anymore," he said. "This is a kill strike." From orbit, Echo units 1 through 5 responded. They repositioned, tracked targets. Calculated. But even with their speed, they couldn't catch them all. The enemy was smart, sending decoys, jammers, fake heat trails. For the first time, Echo units struggled. Clark stared at their signals. "They're adapting to us." Mitchell nodded grimly. "Then it's time we adapt to them." He hit the emergency override. "Activate Thunder Protocol." Every officer froze. No one had touched Thunder Protocol in over 10 years, because it wasn't just defense, it was retaliation. Thunder Protocol was Earth's final defense system, a classified rail battery grid buried under the oceans, connected by deep-sea subsea cables. Each unit synced with orbital satellites and AI fire-assist. Not one shot had ever been fired, until now. Underneath the Pacific, a massive railgun powered up. It rotated, aimed not at orbit but straight up, from a hidden bay under the Antarctic shelf. Another rose from the ice, humming with lethal energy. Echo units synced with Thunder Protocol, sharing enemy movement data. Now Earth could see. Now Earth could shoot. The first alien ship entered low orbit over the North Pole. Its pilot blinked. No alarms, no resistance, just a beautiful blue planet below. Then, boom, the sky exploded. A rail spike, invisible to radar, cut through the ship's belly. No fire, no smoke, just silence, and then nothing. Over the Atlantic, 2 more alien ships broke cloud cover. They dove toward Valkyrie Base. Mitchell watched their descent on screen. "Come closer," he muttered. They did. Then the base's hidden turret, Thunder Node, 3 fired. 1 shot. 2 ships destroyed. The pieces didn't even hit the ground. They turned to dust in the air. Alien comes across the fleet, lit up with screams. Unknown weapons. Too fast, too precise. They're shooting from the planet itself. Admiral Vex growled in his command chamber. "They've turned the entire Earth into a cannon." He gave the next order. "Deploy the Void Seeds." Across his fleet, black pods detached from alien cruisers and fell into Earth's upper atmosphere. Inside each, viral machines, built to eat data, jam signals, and blind systems. Echo units watched them fall, and responded. Echo 1 sent a burst signal to Echo 2 and 3. New plan. No waiting. Hunt. From orbit, Echo units powered up. They fired not at ships but at the black pods falling from space. 6 were destroyed. Mid-Air.3 landed. 1 made it into the Pacific Ocean. Clark saw it on screen. If that seed reaches the Thunder grid, won't, Mitchell said. He turned to the Echo Command interface. Echo 5, you're closest. Intercept. The drone didn't answer, it just moved. Echo 5 dropped from orbit, faster than anything Earth had ever built. It hit the ocean at a near impossible angle, slicing the water like a blade. Inside the sea, the Void Seed activated. Its claws extended. It began burrowing, but before it could reach the Thunder cable, Echo 5 found it. There was no fight, just one massive charge of magnetic force. The rail-driven spike tore through the seed. The ocean lit up like lightning. The threat was gone. Echo 5 didn't surface, but it sent a final message. Thunder lives. Back at Valkyrie base, Clark read the message. Her hands trembled. They're holding. Every last Echo is holding. Mitchell watched the skies. More ships fell. Some broke through. One made it over Europe aimed at London. But Thunder Node 7, hidden in the Alps, turned it into ash. Another flew toward South America, shot down by a rail battery buried under the Andes. For every alien ship that reached Earth, 5 never made it on board his flagship. Admiral Vex screamed, "Withdraw." His second-in-command shouted, "We're losing too many." But Vex refused. "We finish this. Send the Karnak dreadnought." All eyes turned. The Karnak was an ancient beast, 10 kilometers long. A ship built to fight entire fleets. It entered real space with a flash and aimed its main cannon at Earth. Inside Valkyrie base, every alarm triggered at once. "Energy spike," Clark shouted. "Something massive 10 times the size of any ship we've seen." Mitchell's voice was cold. "Can Thunder kill it?" Clark didn't know. But then Echo 1 sent a message. "Target locked. Requesting override. Simultaneous planetary fire." Mitchell looked at Clark. She nodded. "Let's give them Thunder. In oceans, under mountains, and from the ice. Every Thunder railgun powered up. Echo coordinated. Echo aimed and Earth fired. It was not one shot. It was 20-3. From sea, from land, from orbit. The Karnak dreadnought never had a chance. The spikes tore through its armor like paper. Explosions rippled down its body, tearing its spine, its engines, its core. In space, the alien monster screamed and then shattered. Admiral Vex's flagship fled into the stars, leaking fire. He had come to silence Earth, but Earth had answered with thunder. The sky grew quiet again. This time, it was victory, not just survival. Victory. Clark stood in Valkyrie base, breathing hard. Mitchell looked at her. "They wanted us broken." She nodded. "They wanted us silent." He finished. "We gave them Thunder." Above Earth, Echo units hovered, quietly, watching, protecting, waiting for whatever came next, because the war wasn't over. But now the galaxy knew, Earth does not fall quietly. The war was supposed to end with Earth in flames. That was what the galaxy believed. That was what Admiral Vex promised. That was what the Galactic Council expected, when they voted for silent destruction instead of diplomacy. But Earth chose differently. It did not burn. It rose from ashes, from ice. From thunder. And now, the galaxy watched in silence. Admiral Vex's fleet had been shattered. The Karnak dreadnought, once thought invincible, was torn apart by railfire and orbital thunder. What remained of his black-armored warships limped away into deep space, some broken, some blind, all afraid. On board his flagship, Vex sat in silence. His hands trembled. A hologram glowed in front of him, an image of Earth, alive, defiant, still protected by Echo units in orbit. One sentence repeated on the lower screen. "You tried to erase us. Now remember us." He slammed his fist through the console. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, but worse, they had awakened it. In the council chamber on Jurok, silence filled the air. The blue and gold light of the dome dimmed as images played in front of every ambassador. The fall of the Karnak, the firing of Earth's hidden railguns, the unmatched precision of the Echo units. And the final blow, the retreat of Vex himself. Some counselors stared in awe, some in fear, and others in shame. High Speaker Volan, the oldest among them, rose from his seat. "Let it be said," he spoke gently, "that we called them savages, barbarians, children with fire." He paused, but they protected their home with more restraint, focus, and force than any empire I've seen in 1,000 cycles. He turned slowly, gazing across the chamber. The question now is not whether we forgive Earth. His eyes narrowed. It is whether Earth will forgive us. Earth did not respond immediately. It didn't need to. The message had already been sent with metal, fire, and blood. Instead, Earth began to rebuild, but not in silence, not in fear, in strength. Deep beneath the Arctic ice, Valkyrie Base was now the heart of a planetary alliance. Representatives from every surviving Earth nation stood inside its war room. They weren't arguing anymore. They were planning together. General Mitchell stood at the center, beside Dr. Clark and her Echo Command team. "The aliens are fractured," he said. "Vex is hiding. The Council is in chaos. Now is the moment to secure peace, not just for us, but for the next generation." Clark added, "We can't fight forever. Even the strongest railgun needs time to cool. The galaxy must know. We will defend, but we won't rule by fear." The leaders nodded. For the first time in human history, the world didn't just defend itself, it stood united. A week later, Earth sent a signal, not a weapon, a message, simple, clear. "We fought to live. We fight no more. But if you come for us, again we will not fight alone." Attached was a data packet. Inside, the Echo protocol shared willingly, the code that allowed autonomous weapons to think, but to think with purpose, defense, precision, protection. Earth gave it freely, but not to threaten, to warn. On planets across the galaxy, something shifted. The weak found hope. The small found courage. One by one, minor colonies disconnected from Vex's old empire. One by one, Council races reached out carefully, humbly. And Earth responded, not with weapons. But with ships. Relief, medicine, engineers. The same hands that built the Valkyrie railgun now built water filters on desert moons. The same minds that designed orbital defenses now rewired broken cities. They called it the Echo Rebuild Initiative. And soon, across the galaxy, 3 words became legend. The humans are coming, not with war, but with answers. And Admiral Vex, he was no longer welcome. His war crimes had been recorded, his secret labs exposed. His own captains abandoned him, turning over logs and codes in exchange for clemency. Hunted, cornered, he ran. To the edge of known space, into a storm of black holes and frozen stars. Where no message could follow, where even Echo would not chase him. And there, the shadows finally consumed him. But the galaxy remembered, and not just the war. They remembered who Earth had become, the race that survived a silent invasion, the people who tamed weapons that could end worlds, and didn't use them blindly, the species that turned thunder into a shield. 10 years later, on the edge of a golden nebula, a new council was formed, not of old empires, but of survivors, builders, defenders. And Earth sat among them, not at the head, not above, but beside, equal. Clark represented humanity, older now, wiser. She looked around the circular chamber, eyes calm. And said, "We came from fire, but we learned to carry light." A silence followed. Then, one by one, the other ambassadors stood and bowed their heads, even the ones who once voted to burn Earth, even the ones who used to laugh, because the truth was simple now. Humanity had been tested, and humanity had answered with thunder and compassion. Above Earth, the Echo units still drifted in orbit, no longer alone. Now they had company satellites from other races, communication hubs, peace platforms. And among them floated Ecto-1. The oldest, the first. It hadn't fired in years. It didn't need to, but it still watched, still listened, still waited. Not for war, but for the signal it always wanted, that the galaxy was safe again. One night, as the lights over Earth shimmered in aurora colors, a single message came through the stars, from a child on a distant colony, sent by a handmade radio, barely strong enough to push through space. It said only this: "Dear Echo, thank you for saving my planet. I'm not afraid anymore." Ecto-1 didn't reply with words. It simply turned, and for the first time in a decade, its lights glowed soft blue. Like a star smiling back. Earth had risen, and the galaxy had bowed, not to power but to principle, not to dominance, but to the strength that chooses restraint. That is the legacy Echo left behind. That is the mark humanity made, from a silent world, beneath Arctic ice. To the farthest edge of the stars. End of